Coming
I
up
am getting
on
you
Sophisticated
to
Mom.
sexual acts so I can have control over you and make you believe I am a good woman, make you believe I am a good man, so I can have you give me money, so I can have you do this for me, so I can have you do that for me, so I can keep these blinders on your eyes to show you that I'm not about anything, that I don't want anything, that I don't offer you anything, that I don't even love you, that maybe you don't love me, but I'm using my sex as a way to control you in whatever capacity that may be, and to get what I want, and to put the wool over your eyes to masquerade the fact that I don't offer you anything else.
Dedication, preservation, take a look inside, do your salvation, do every good work, it takes patience, like a butterfly, transformation.
What's up guys, Sophie here, and I'm back with another video. If you are new to my channel, then don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on all my videos, and don't forget to check the description box because I always put a lot of stuff in there, like my book for single moms and my book for single women's, where I talk about in both of those what I'm going to be talking about today. And this is celibacy. I have a few videos on celibacy, but I'm going to take it in a different direction, because celibacy is not all about just abstaining from sex. Do you abstain from sex? Sure, but there is a biggest purpose behind it. So first, as I mentioned in my first celibacy video that I'll link down in the description box, that when you have sex with other people, you are taking on their issues. That is something that we know as soul ties. That is also a video that I'll link down in the description box. I'm not going to read it, but specifically if you go to 1 Corinthians 6:16, it says, when you lie with a prostitute, do you not know that you are lying with everybody that she has been with? Now I know y'all are like, this sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus, but hear me out in the sense that there is actually some scientific merit to this, in the sense that when you sleep with somebody, you do form an attachment to them. We know this. Like, I'm sure that if you slept with people, you form a bond or an attachment to them. And for example, if you have slept with an emotionally abusive person, a narcissist, somebody that did not have the best intentions for you, just think back in your mind right now how that relationship went. I mean, legit, you probably develop an unrealistic obsession with this person, and then they probably emotionally abused you and mistook your kindness for weakness and stomped on you and treated you like crap. That is because you have formed an attachment and a bond with them, and now they have all of these issues which they have now projected upon you, and now this in turn, the way that they're treating you is causing you harm and causing you to change the way that you are formulating or going about relationships, or causing you to believe that you are in love, or because you have a soul tie, or you're attaching to somebody who is not a good person, that you probably would not be caring about or attached with had you not slept. Understand that whenever you sleep with somebody, this is an intimate act. I know that sometimes we tend to dumb down sex, or like, oh, it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. Somebody's coming into your vagina. You are releasing chemical endorphins. You are attaching to this person. You are taking on their issues and vice versa, and they can be projecting their issues onto you. Which is why if you are just sleeping with any and everybody, or you are sleeping with somebody who doesn't have good intentions for you, or somebody who has no plans on marrying you or having a long-term actual relationship with you, or even somebody who treats you very poorly, this can actually amplify all of those things and have you like clinging to this person because you have had sex with them and you have attached to them when really you shouldn't have. And now you done took on their issues, right? So the second point I want to get into is also about self-control. And this is the most important thing, because the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. It is about having self-control, that you should be able to control yourself in all things. You should not need sex. You should not need or feel like you have to have anything except for like things that you need to survive. If we talk about the works of the flesh, then we know, and I do believe I have a video on this, but if we talk about the works of the flesh, it's just not about sexual immorality. It's about jealousy. It's about anger. It's about drunkenness. It's about all of these things that we know inherently to be wrong. So if we know that these things are, and this is not to say you can't drink, I'm talking about like you just intentionally always being drunk to be out of your freaking mind, or being on drugs to be out of your freaking mind because you have an addictive behavior. These are things that we know are inherently wrong. And so if God sought it best to put sexual immorality lumped in this category, which we know is lumped in the category of behaviors that we know intentionally causes harm, then why can't we start to see sexual immorality in the same way? Because in some way, sleeping with a whole bunch of people, carelessly sleeping with a whole bunch of people, or just having sex with people that we don't know or that we're not married to, not only does it cause us to attach ourselves to them, like I said in the first tip, but it also can mean that we lack self-control. And so what I'm talking about is, if I date a man, then I'm sleeping with him on the first night because I can't control myself. If I sleep with him after the third date because I can't control myself. And that is an issue. So I actually do want to quote a Bible verse on that. It is 1 Thessalonians 4, chapter 4, verse 4, 3 through 4. For this is the will of God, that you be sanctified and separated and set apart from sin, that you abstain and back away from sexual immorality, that each of you know how to control his or own body in holiness and honor, being available for God's purpose and separated from things that are profane, not to be used in a lustful passion like the Gentiles who do not know God and who are ignorant to his will. So when you lack self-control and you are just sleeping with somebody because you feel like you just can't abstain, you feel like you can't wait till marriage, you feel like you can't wait to know them, you don't really know them, or you jump into the sack with them too soon, then you have to understand that this is an issue, because now it's not rooted in love. It's more rooted off of lust. And I know that some of us would like to believe that, sex is no big deal, but I can guarantee you that if you want to have sex off of lust, based off having sex off of love, first of all, like I mentioned, the attachment aspect, especially if you are attaching yourself to somebody you barely know, and then the after effects of that is them ghosting you. And if sex, having sex with random people without self-control wasn't an issue, then ghosting wouldn't be an issue, because how many people tend to feel all like crap after they have been ghosted by a man after the man has gotten what they want? Imagine how you feel about that. You don't feel good, you don't feel empowered, you don't feel loved, you feel like, dang, he used me, right? More than anything, know that it is not God's will to have you used and abused like that, because there's the Holy Spirit. We know that the Holy Spirit is living within us, and specifically the body says that the sin of sexual immorality is the only sin that one commits inside the body, meaning that the Holy Spirit is inside you, somebody is having sex inside you, their sin is entering you, because we talked about the whole attachment thing, and now this is convoluted the Holy Spirit, because now you have to take on their whole issues, and now their issues and their narcissism and their self-control and their emotional abuse, the fact that you don't know them, the ghosting, and all that other stuff that comes after a lustful interaction that's not based in love. And we all know, let's not pretend that there's drama ensues. I don't care who you are or how free you are. Oftentimes there are negative feelings associated when you're just having sex out of lust, the aftermath of that, of the feelings. Now all of that stuff is mixed in with the Holy Spirit, simply because you have lacked self-control and you don't want to abstain from sex enough to figure out, should I even be messing with this person? And instead you have fed into the fleshly desire, and I have to have it. And now you have, now the Holy Spirit has to fight off all of these issues that are internally fighting within you, and you cannot fully commit yourself to what God is saying and what God is wanting you to do. And now even you have taken on more additional issues that God has to heal within you to prepare you for the right one, right? Because you're lusting so much, it has now affected even your ability to attach to a healthy person, because sometimes if you're just sleeping with a whole bunch of people know how to turn that off. Like, I just sleep with people out of lust, I don't need love. And so now you have attached, you have cut that part of yourself off to have a meaningful attachment, because you're so used to having a lustful attachment. Now this is something that God has to heal within you, because if he does want to bring you the one, and you do want to love somebody, hey, can you properly attach to this person when you have sex with them? Can you properly love them? Are you going to be able to practice self-control enough that if you marry them, you're not going to be able to cheat on them? Because when you see somebody fine, you might be like, I want to go ahead and have sex with them, because you have not practiced self-control before. And this is how you have acted, before you were married, or before you have been with the person that you love. You have not been able to exercise self-control. So if that is your pattern of being, right, then now when you do get into a real relationship that matters, it's hard for God to bring you that that person because you have exercised such lust and such lack of self-control in your past relationships that you are in danger of now ruining a great relationship. So then the next thing I want to go into is that when you are not celibate or when you freely have sex, is that you lack clarity of thought. And I actually want to recommend this book by Devon Franklin. It's for men, but I read it as a female and I kind of feel like it can apply because most of it to me is about, you know, when you allow lust to take over your life. And if you guys don't know who Devon Franklin is, he's married to Megan Good and he was celibate 7 years before he met his wife. And then, you know, they were celibate during their dating or courtship phase and they did not have sex before they were married. But even coming from a man, he speaks about some of the clarity of thought from a perspective of when he was having sex versus when he was abstaining from sex. And as somebody who is celibate, I can also relate to that. But I also want to go into Matthew 5:28, but it says, "But I say to you that everyone who so much looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery within his heart." So what is that about? I know that if you have had sex, guess what? When you have had sex, that is something that you continuously think about. You think about that person after you have sex. You think about the next time you go and get sex, or when you meet somebody, if you know that you lack self-control and you want to have sex, even if you haven't had sex with them, you think about when are you going to have sex with them. This is something that continuously will clog your mind because now you have introduced this I'm going to have sex, I need to have sex into your brain, and it's just this anticipation of when it's going to happen, and therefore this is what you think of. The sex, when am I going to get it? What it was like when I last get it. Let me masturbate to the thought of me getting it, or what it was like when we last got it. And just like if you remember the last verse when it says it will distract you from God or the purposes that you have for God, because God can't even speak to you because all you're thinking about is having sex with this dude or that dude, or when you had sex, or the last time you had sex, or what it's like going to be have sex when you finally get with this person. It's like you're not, you know, removing the whole aspect of, you know what, we're not gonna have sex anyway, I'm only gonna have sex when I'm married, or at the very least when I'm sure that we're gonna get married, you know, something. I mean, I prefer celibacy until marriage, but you know, I'm just trying to not be judgmental. But hear me out. If you're just dating people, I'm having sex with all of these people, I know as somebody who has had sex before that this is what clouds your judgment, this is what clouds your thoughts, and therefore you are not actively pursuing or being as productive as you could be in life, because that is what convolutes your mind. I know this from experience. I was never a lazy person, I was always a productive person, but before I was celibate, is that something that constantly will occupy my thoughts more so than being more productive than what I could? Yes, it is. And I even talk about that in a blog when I felt like I suffered from lust. Yes, oh dang, this guy is fine, I'm dating him, when I'm gonna give him some, what it's gonna be like to sleep with him, all of that is lustful things. That's why it says when you even think about it, it's like committing an adultery, because this is what consumes your mind and this is what you start to think about. And ultimately, when you start to think about it, more than likely you're planning it out and you're eventually going to act it out, because every action probably started with a thought, no matter how preconceived it was, right? Even if you just met this person, at some point you said, I'm going to have sex with this person, even if it was 5 minutes before, it still started with the thought. But if you remove the fact that, oh no, I'm not going to have sex with this person, or if you take away the thought thinking that you are going to have sex with this person, then it keeps you from actually having sex with that person, and it helps you maintaining celibacy if you start to not even think about people in that way, if that makes sense. So the last one I'm going to get into is that sexual immorality can be a way that people can use to have control over you. I know that some people have been digmatized, I don't know a better word to say it, or pee-whipped, I don't know a better way to say it, off of people, and therefore it has been used as a control weapon. So I actually have a video on Jezebel that I'll put down in the description box, but specifically I want to read from Revelations 2:20, in which it says, "But I have charged this against you, that you tolerate a woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, claiming to be expired. She teaches and misleads my bondservants so that they commit acts of sexual immorality and eat foods of sacrificed idols." So I want to go back to the sense that what she is doing is that she is calling herself a prophetess. She is she is misleading people through sexual acts. So I am getting you to commit these sexual acts so I can have control over you and make you believe I am a good woman, make you believe I am a good man, so I can have you give me money, so I can have you do this for me, so I can have you do that for me, so I can keep these blinders on your eyes to show you that I'm not about anything, that I don't want anything, that I don't offer you anything, that I don't even love you, that maybe you don't love me, but I'm using my sex as a way to control you in whatever capacity that may be, and to get what I want, and to put the wool over your eyes, to masquerade the fact that I don't offer you anything else. So when you are celibate, it's very difficult for people to hide who they are and what they are about. It is very difficult for them to have control over you, or for you to even walk away if they don't have sex to control you. You get to see, like, yeah, somebody can sex you down real good, and maybe you might be blinded by that and think that is love, but if you're not getting that from somebody and all of them is crap, then it's going to be very easy for you to see the crap and not necessarily get blinded by this dynamic that the sex that they're offering you, that is so great, to overshadow the fact that they're using you, that they want money from you, that they're just trying to take from you, that is this, that is that, or whatever the case may be, that they sleeping with other women, and now you fighting the other woman because the sex is so great. Like, it's very hard for them to hide who they are as a person and to control you and to get you to fall into their stupid game of crazy if they're not controlling you with the sex that they're giving you. And so that's another important reason why it's important to be celibate, because you really have an objective opinion about somebody, who they are, what they are about, and if they are even good for you, if they don't have an inside way to control and manipulate you through sexual action. And I know we all been there. We all stayed with some bad men or something just because the sex was really good, and when we stopped having sex with them and we turn around and reflect, we'd be like, oh my God, what was we thinking? Was we whipped or what? But imagine if you don't even get into that situation, then you'll automatically see who they are, and you could just turn that off right off the back, and you don't even have to get into the sex whip situation with them in order to be played by them, and you can save yourself a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of effort from getting played, right? Right. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know, are you guys celibate? Are you considering celibacy? You might think I'm completely full of crap, but did you get anything from what I said? Do you feel like it's true? Do you feel like I'm full of fluff? I definitely would love to hear it. Leave it down below, and I will see you guys another day, another time. Bye, y'all.
Not ready for the show to end? It doesn't have to. You can head over to my site where you can read hundreds of articles. And also, you can feel free to shop my store where I have all of my products for sale. And last but not least, for even more video content, feel free to visit my YouTube channel where I talk about a wide array of content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay blessed.